The story started with a simple heavy feeling, missing my cat. I adopted 3 stray kittens when they were only a week old after their mother passed away. Now that I'm in London and they are far away, I carry plastic containers filled with their fur as a way to cope. Because they are the same age, I often worry that I will lose them all at once. This fear of simultaneous death led me to research pet death education and funerals. I realized I needed to start preparing for the end as soon as possible, not out of pessimism, but out of love. I began visiting pet cemeteries, such as the one in Hyde Park. I was deeply moved by the compact and intimate nature of the gravesites. I sketched their various elements, including the dates and the epitaphs. Everything was crafted from stone, symbolizing eternity and solidity. To process these emotions, I experimented with clay to recreate these tombstones and utilized 3D scanning to import them into Blender. I wanted to explore whether I could combine the coldness of stone with something soft and personal, like fur. And on social media platforms, it is quite common to see pet owners using their pets' fur as crochet material to create many adorable products. I drew inspiration from the artist Maria Sakat, who uses wool to create blurry, fluffy paintings. Her work inspired me to see fur not just a waste, but as a vital media for memory. The core of my animation LIMBO comes from a real trauma. The following segment contains real footage of my cat receiving treatment for feline panleukopenia, including scenes of shock and seizures. The content may be distressing or uncomfortable to watch. If you are sensitive to such material, you may choose to skip this part or take a moment to prepare yourself before continuing. One of my adopted kittens contracted the feline panleukopenia, and soon they were all infected. At the time, I was an undergraduate with no money and no vet clinics nearby, so I had to become an amateur doctor of my own pets. I researched every guide online and treated them at home. The audio diary you hear in the background is the actual recording from that time. The sound of my panic and their struggle. I use a Kubler-Ross grief cycle to understand my emotions, moving through denial and depression until we reach recovery. Based on the theory reference, I have divided the LIMBO stop-motion animation into 3 chapters. The first chapter depicts the scene of my first encounter with the kitten. At that time, I could feel the experience of life they brought me, through their fairy texture and the tiny heartbeat in my hands, which made me extremely happy. The second chapter describes my psychological state when the kitten fell ill. In the face of immense fear of death, my senses became dull and colorless. My complete immersion in the treatment kept the sound of the kitten suffering constantly echoing in my mind. The third chapter portrays my experience of trauma after recovery. The overwhelming sadness left my memories blurred and hazy. In a state of depression, I gradually learned to accept the reality. In my research for LIMBO, I also learned from other artists' methods to do social research. I used the Sophie Kell's systematic way of investigating. In her work Exquisite Pain, she turned personal pain into something everyone can think about by showing it like an archive. I tried something similar. I made a questionnaire based on 5 stages of grief for pet owners who went through serious trauma with their pets, to learn about their mental health. From the answers, I found that many owners feel the same way I did. In the animation, I used tombstones as an important visual symbol, something that holds our emotions. to show how the idea of death stay in an owner's mind during their pet's illness. By turning these pieces like hair and sound into art, I'm not just telling a story, I'm building an emotional archive meant to help us heal together. Now I am shifting my focus to another invisible experience, asexuality. Just like the silent struggle of carrying the sick pets, the story of understanding an asexual identity can be incredibly unique and lonely. My inspiration, like that for LIMBO, is rooted in genuine personal experience. I have consistently employed diverse visual forms to excavate and resolve my own psychological conflicts, thereby defining and refining my identity as an artist. For Project 5, I intend to adopt a new position, that of the author, to establish a narrative-driven emotional connection with the audience. Furthermore, asexuality remains largely invisible not only within society, but also in culture and artistic works. Netflix's series Heartstopper, with its secondary storyline, as well as manga such as Sasukoi Katalysis, has provided significant reference points for me. Works of this nature often engage deeply with the themes of identity and gender, which, being integral to the asexual experience, constitute unavoidable life topics. Therefore, I will strive to foreground these core issues, aiming to realize the social value and communicative significance of this project. Through all these projects, my goal is the same: to use research and evidence to turn private trauma into public knowledge. Thank you for listening to my stories.